is Lepsy. Today I'm going to be doing another Let's Make video. I really enjoyed doing my last one, so I'm back already with a second one. Today I'm really excited to be showing you this one because I'm making a character from one of my favorite video game series. So I'm going to be doing this little guy. And if you're interested in seeing how I make him, then keep on watching. This is the reference picture I'll be using to make my little guy. If you don't know what he is, he's known as a Korok from the Legend of Zelda game. If you've watched any of my videos before, then you probably know I am a huge Zelda fan, so I thought it'd be really fun to make one of these. If you're not familiar with Zelda, these little guys are from the newest Zelda game, which is Breath of the Wild, and they've also been featured in Wind Waker. So there's some Zelda history for you. Anyway, to start off, I wanted to work on the body first. So to get started with that, I took some tan clay and I mixed some of this tan clay with some white clay as well, just to make sure that I could achieve the modeling effect that you can see in my reference picture there. These guys have a pretty obvious marbling effect on their bodies, so to be able to do this with my little Korok that I'm making, I made two different colors of clay with this tan, one darker and one lighter, and I made sure to mix them and soften them up really well before I mixed them together. That way I didn't have to do a lot of combining with the two clays, and that way the color wouldn't get too mixed together and I could still keep that nice marbling effect. Once I've got the clay mixed to the way I want it to be, I start to work on forming the body. This takes a lot of fussing on my end to get all of the different limbs exactly the way I want them to. As I said in my previous video, I'm a really big perfectionist, so I cut through a lot of this just so that the video isn't like an hour long. Plus, I don't think that that's really all that interesting to watch. So to just give you an overview of what I'm doing in these steps, I'm basically smoothing the clay with my fingers to get it into the shape of his little horns on the top of his head. It's the first thing I created. Then I went down to his feet or his bottom and created his legs and his feet. And then finally I go and make his arms. And after that, I just use my fingers to smooth the clay again to make sure that I've got the rest of his body in a shape that I'm happy with. Once his body is all done, I want to start making the leaf that goes over his face. And to do this, I'm going to take some green clay and work it into a ball and then start pressing it with my fingers to shape it into a heart. Once I'm happy with the shape, I'm going to start working on cutting out a hole for where his nose is going to come through. So I've just got my little X-Acto knife here to help me cut nice precise holes in the clay, and I'm just going to cut this once on the front and once on the back. Next, I want to add some highlights to the leaf. I didn't want it to look really bland, and I noticed in the reference picture that it does actually have some lighter colors on the leaf itself along with the vein details that it has. So to achieve this, I'm taking some lighter green clay that's really soft, and I'm going to warm it up with my hands and then just rub it on the leaf that I've created, and this will actually almost like melt the clay into the leaf that I have, just to give it a nice highlighted look. And I do this all over the front of the leaf. After I've finished with highlighting in the lighter green color, I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut out the two eyes and the mouth for this little guy. Again, because I'm such a perfectionist, this is a pretty tedious process to watch, and I don't think it'd be all that fun for you guys. So I went through and cut out a lot of this. Plus, I think it took me about 20 minutes to actually do all of this. Anyway, once I've got all of that done, I'm going to start working on the vein detail for the leaves. Again, this is a really technical task, I guess you could call it, because the clay used for these details has to be super thin, and it just gets kind of hard to position it where you want it on the leaf. So I went through and cut a lot of this out too, just because I did a lot of fussing and it took me forever. So I didn't want my video to be insanely long because then no one would watch it. So basically, to create the vein details on the leaf, I just took a bunch of really thin strings of lighter green clay and placed them on the leaf. The first one I did was right down the middle, and then I did some branching off to either the left or right of that to make it look as close as I could to the leaf in the reference picture. So next I'm going to put some black clay on the back of the leaf to cover over the eye and mouth holes. Once those are in place, my leaf is all done and it's ready to be placed on my little Korok. And with that, he is actually all finished. The only thing left I'm going to do is add a little detail. If you saw before in my reference picture, the Korok in that picture had a little twig with some leaves and berries on it, and I thought it'd be fun just to put that on my guy as well. So you can see here I've already rolled some brown clay to make a twig, but unfortunately that wasn't thick enough to actually stand up straight, so I'm going to come back and make a new one. But in the meantime, I'm just forming a couple leaves to go on my stick, and I'm going to also make some berries to put on there as well. So you can see now I've started to make a new stick for my little guy. I did actually mix some lighter brown clay in there to add some extra wood grain details. And another thing that I'm going to do is I actually like to add some metal wire to my tiny details to help them have a little bit more support. So to do this, I take a twist tie and I strip the plastic off it to get the little wire that's inside, and I use that to help support my clay. Alright, now that I have my twig created and I've made a whole bunch of little leaves and berries to stick on it, I'm just going to assemble everything together. I don't really have any specific placement for where I put everything. I just kind of throw it all on there and see how it looks. And here's what he looks like when he's all put together with his little leaf and his stick accessory. I think he's pretty darn cute. And so now it's time for him to take a trip into the oven. So here's what our little guy looks like after he's been baked. I think he turned out pretty well. Now for the final touches, I'm just going to do a coat of glaze all over this little guy. The Koroks in the games seem like they are pretty shiny. There's nothing too flat about them, so I'm gonna go all over him with glaze. I also discovered that he does not like to stand up very well, so to fix this, I just sanded the bottoms of his little feet so that they were nice and flat, and that helped him to stand up straight on my shelf. So here he is, completely finished and all ready to go live on my bookshelf. I think he's super adorable. I'm really happy with how he turned out, and hopefully you enjoyed watching me make him as well. please feel free to leave any comments or questions down below. I love to read and respond to them. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!